gentlemen. I want to talk about the hijackers. When did it become known that the Sunni extremist terrorists were possibly going to hijack planes and use them as missiles? Do you remember?
For me?
Yeah, when that became known?
This is a subject goes back a long way. You need exactly a specific example of, you know, which particular group was involved. I mean, it goes back, I can recall 1994.
And did the FBI or the CIA ever warn the commercial aviation section about this specific threat?
About the aviation threat?
Airplanes being used as missiles?
Hijacking of aircraft and the potential for in the time frame, yes.
So they were, the commercial aviation section was warned?
Yes.
Was it in a form where they would have been able to actually do something about it? You know, did they, you know, where they could change their security practices? You know,
we
apparently they didn't. And, you know,
well, we disseminate, we collect intelligence, we
right.
analyze it, and we disseminate it. And the actions that they wish to take, obviously, are their responsibility.
So you think it was of sufficient alarm that they should have taken some action?
I think there was significance. They have to analyze it according to their own criteria.
On this, following up on Congressman Reyes's on this FISA situation in Minneapolis, you say that this group meets once a month with this OIPR.
This is a headquarters prioritization of all the FISA.
So some of these sit around for a month before they actually get considered to the point where they can get past this process?
It all depends, Congressman, on the priority of what you're talking about on a FISA. If you're
but apparently the one in Minneapolis maybe never even got to that point, huh?
Well, I'd be glad to discuss that with you, probably in closed session.
Okay. And apparently you testified that that when you came in, that you were making a priority of adding staff into the field offices to try to beef up this area. Mm-hmm. And when the Minneapolis agent was here Friday, I think he said that the Minneapolis office had a couple of positions open, and that there were folks that were in that acting in those open positions, and that was one of the reasons why they were having problems there, from what I remember him saying. So if you were beefing up this situation, you know, why was a situation like that in Minneapolis? Why were those positions open?
Probably through a process of career development. Those slots were, I'm not sure exactly which positions you're talking about, but those not routinely occur, but occur within the Bureau. If you look at it from strategically, Minneapolis had an opening, and maybe Houston was evaluated by us as being very vulnerable. And the list of priorities that I considered, I would consider what I considered where the threat was most vulnerable to try to fix first. During my deposition, I was asked about an Omaha EC, where Omaha said they were desperate to get 2 agents to work, or 3 agents to work counterterrorism. At the same time, you had a big vacancy in Los Angeles, or you had a vacancy in New York. Where in the scheme of things do you fit that out? I'm not downgrading Omaha, but it was an effective and efficient way to determine where you're going to put your resources and in what priority.
So what was going on then at the time in Minneapolis? They had these openings, but there was probably other areas that...
I don't know specifically about those
it gets back to this whole resources issue. Is that part of the reason why this happens? Because there wasn't enough resources, there wasn't enough...
I don't know what the agent testified to, but if he was talking about an acting SAC in a period of time between... That's fairly normal when a vacancy occurs. It doesn't... You know,
I think there was more than just one position that was in the acting capacity, if I recall, but and I think it did have some impact on what they were trying to do there. And
I will only say that, yeah, okay, and we'd probably talk about that.
Yeah, and you know, I think it had some impact on how many people knew how this whole FISA thing worked.
That is
then the-
absolutely correct.
No.
And if you deal with one FISA in your career, if you deal with 500, you certainly have a better understanding.
Yeah, and I had asked, I guess my time is out, but maybe we can talk about the training process in this FISA too, because I still have some
That's
questions
fine.
about that.
Yes,
Thank you,
Congressman.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.